All right. Well, it is 10 o'clock. Good morning, all, and thank you for joining us today for this week's Long Coffee Break. I'm Mike Jacobs, sales engineer here at Long, and joining me today is Greg Johnson with AirMark. AirMark is a division of Aspen Manufacturing and can help provide multifamily fan coil units for any of your upcoming projects. So with that, I will let Greg take it away.
Mike, thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you to Long for inviting me to your morning coffee break. Look forward to talking to all of you out there, and greetings. My name is Greg Johnson. I'm with Aspen Manufacturing, here to talk about our AirMark fan coils. And if there's anything you remember today, remember this: you now have an alternative to First Company for your multifamily fan coil needs. AirMark is a division of Aspen Manufacturing. At Aspen, we build DX 1.5 through 5 ton coils for the single family market that match with all the major OEMs: Daikin, Goodman, Carrier Train, etc. And we've been in business for about 45 years. We're still a privately held company. And about 7 or 8 years ago, we introduced the AirMark brand to market our multifamily fan coils to match up with Daikin and Long to help you with options for your apartment construction needs. On the screen here, you'll see our website. Feel free to visit airmark-ac.com to see the products that we have on tap for you. We'll review those here shortly. Just like First Company, AirMark is rated per the DOE standard, which means that the ratings are good. Our certificates are DOE certified, and they're found on our website. They're not rated on AHRI. Although Aspen, as a company, we are members of AHRI, you'll find the AirMark ratings on our website. Of course, if you don't see what you're looking for on the website, always reach out to Long or me directly, and we'll take care of that for you. Again, my name is Greg Johnson. My contact information is there on the screen. If you have any questions, be happy to talk to you or shoot me a note, and we'll answer your questions and help you out in any way we can. The lineup that we're going to talk about today are the soffit mounts, the wall mounts, and the multi-positions. I think the unit that you see on the left is probably the most familiar and maybe one of the most popular that you've seen in the market. It's what's called a pancake or a soffit / ceiling mount fan coil. This uses a DX cooling coil, and it also includes a hydronic heating coil that's designed to pair up with the unit's hot water tank, so that you use the domestic hot water as a heat source for the apartment unit. These units are designed to, for capacities from 1.5 to 3 ton air conditioning sizes and up to 30 to 40,000 BTUs in heating. There are lots of options in these things available, and you can see the list here. They can be built as cased units. The picture that you see is a cased model. They can also be built as an uncased model where there is no enclosure, you just have the open chassis. And from there, you go into motor selection. You can either use your standard PSC type motor, or if you want to upgrade to the ECM motor with more options for fan speeds and maybe some higher CFMs. TXVs are also a factory installed option, as well as standard piston or flow rater orifices. The TXVs are mechanically fitted using a chatlift bolt-on design, so they're easy to change out or field install. And of course, since these are hydronic units, they are built to include a pump, or they can be built without a pump if you're using a common boiler type heating system. If you're using a tankless hot water system for the unit, we recommend you use a different style pump that has a higher head and higher CFM, higher gallons per minute capacity where needed. Of course, these units include a feature called a pump cycle timer. This is always brought up in schedules and quotations. That pump cycle timer function is included on board the unit. That's not something that needs to be added in the field. and it doesn't need to be added in a quote or the spec. It's on board the microprocessor board of the fan coil. They also come with solid or louvered access panels. So what you see in the picture is a louvered access panel, and that's used where you're going to pull return air directly into the bottom of the unit, or if you're going to duct return air into that case from another location, you use a solid access panel. All of our fan coils are shipped with sealed DX coils, which means that the coil is leak tested at the factory, and it's also positively charged with nitrogen, and it can be tested in the field or at the warehouse before it's installed to confirm that the coil is indeed not a leaker. Now these ceiling mount products, as well as everything you see here, are also available in electric heat models. So you can also order these to be a 230 volt model with whatever kW heaters you need, 0 up to 10 kW in the ceiling. And you can see down below, if you're familiar with First Company models, you can see what those models are that this unit would correspond to. Now, these soffit mount fan coils are about the same size as the First Company models in terms of footprint. They're the same height. They're all 11 inches high, just like First Company, and they're within an inch of the dimensions of the cabinet. The wall mount product, the one you see in the middle, is also a popular model and has been over the years. You don't see them in quite the volume that you do in the ceiling mount, but there are lots of units out there that use them, and we still see some today. Just like the ceiling mount, these come in 1.5 to 3 ton capacities. And you can see that a lot of the same options you see on the soffit mounts are included with the wall mount. The motors, you can select a PSC or an ECM motor, TXV or a piston, of course the pump or a tankless hot water pump, or without a pump altogether. The pump cycle timer function is included on the board. And by the way, if you do use a unit without a pump on a common boiler system, that microprocessor board will open up a valve on a call for heat. So that unit will also open up your valve on a call for heat using the microprocessor board, easily to wire up. You have solid and louvered access panels and even oversized panels for those of you that want to have extra room above the unit when the unit's installed in a recessed wall application, so that the installer and or the service techs can reach any valves that are located above the unit. What that means is the access panel is about 6 inches taller than a standard access panel. And so there's a little bit more room to work on the valves that might be located on top of the unit where the stub outs are. On our wall mounts, we include wall brackets as standard on all our units. No need to call those out or make sure that they're listed on the quote or the purchase order. They come with the units as standard. Same applies to whether you use these units as a dedicated bottom return. Most applications, these are in a front return situation like you see here, but there are cases where people want to pan off the front of that unit and bring return air through the bottom. Our units ship with a front panel that covers up the front return, and that's mainly for stability. But you can leave that panel in place, take the bottom pan out of the air handler, and make it a bottom return without the need to order extra kits to do so. And of course, these units are available in electric heat options with 0 up to 15 kW options, I believe. And if you're wondering, well, what do these correspond to with brand X? It'd be the UCQB or the UCX models. That's what you would be familiar with the First Company. Product we're going to look at is the multi-position fan coil. This is common and useful for your common areas since it goes up to 5 ton capacity. They're larger cabinets so that they match with Daikin's 1.5 ton up to 5 ton ACs or heat pumps. Same options in terms of motors, TXVs, pistons, pumps with or without, pump cycle timers included. As in all fan coils, the DX coil is positively charged with nitrogen and sealed. These are available in downflow. So if you do have a downflow application in a common area, or maybe even you may even need these for your larger penthouse or larger footprint apartment units, you can install these in a downflow application. All you need is a downflow kit to go with it. And like the other two, you can install these with electric heat, 0 up to 15 or 20 kW heaters. The brand X models, you're looking at the HBQB or the HBX. As far as features specific to AirMark, here are some of the things that we're proud of and what we've driven in our industry. One, of course, is the sealed DX coil, not necessarily something new, but we pride ourselves in doing that so that it's easy for your installers to catch a unit that might be leaking out from the factory. The microprocessor board is something we also introduced in the industry. Our major competitor in the past used to require pump cycle timers as a field installed extra. Since its inception, AirMark models have included that pump cycle timer feature on board the microprocessor. Automotive fuse protection, just like OEMs use in their furnaces. We protect the transformer during your low voltage wire up. And like I mentioned before, on the wall mount units, the wall mount brackets are included from the factory. No need to order those or think about them prior to the job. And if you don't use them, simply toss them in the trash. The units also ship with a front panel to cover the front return, so that if you need to pull return air from the bottom of the unit, you can do so without a kit ordered extra or field installed. And finally, we've always brought our copper stub outs on our wall mounts and our multi-positions outside of the unit. So you don't have to run copper into our fan coil to braze on to the DX coil. It's right there handy at the top of the unit. With all of that summed up, again, like I said, if you can't remember anything else, remember that if you've got a multifamily project and you're used to using First Company, but you would like to look at an alternative, remember AirMark. So reach out to your long sales engineer. Here's my contact information. Between us both, we'll make sure you're taken care of. Mike, thanks again for the time. Do you have any questions you might want to ask?
I was curious, could you, with today's crazy world, what are the current lead times you're looking at now for your product?
Good question, Mike. Given what we're going through today in terms of mainly volume of orders and some raw material supplies, we're in the 8-week time frame. We prefer to be closer to 6 or less, but we're running at around 8 weeks today. But I can always give you an update every week. By Monday, I know what the lead times for orders to be placed for that week, and I can tell you that when you need to know it.
Great. Well, thanks again, Greg. As always, if anyone has any questions or opportunities to apply this technology, please reach out to your long sales engineer. Again, please join us next week for the coffee break as John Stump leads the presentation on air-cooled heat recovery and cooling chillers with multi-stack. Again, thanks for taking the time out of your day, and hope to see you next week.